One of the most anticipated events of the 2025 cinematic calendar is almost upon us. The very much long-awaited second half of the Wicked movie saga for good. So to set the hype thrusters up to max, let's revisit Wicked Part 1 and see how it holds up 1 year later. Brief history. I saw the live show on a school trip to London in 2011 and it blew my 17-year-old mind. But by the time 2024 rolled along, a lot of the memory of it had left my brain, so apart from the general gist of the story, I went in with a mostly fresh mindset. Although like many others, I was a little apprehensive about how they were going to pull this off faithfully. Well, the short answer to the story is, goddamn did they ever, while also staking its claim as just an awesome picture in general. So much so that I saw it twice on the big screen, and both times I loved it. And on my third full viewing all this time later, it still gets a big, emerald dazzled thumbs up from me. Cynthia Erivo is a revelation as Elphaba. I wasn't too familiar with her beforehand, but she knocked it out of the park in this meaty, multi-layered role. Naturally, with her green skin, she becomes an easy target of bullying and discrimination, and even though she tries to conceal it with jokes and such, she's very self-conscious, shy, nervous and uncertain, all captured by Cynthia so well. And just as well is when she steps out of her skin, either someone more confident or somebody publicly stepping up and calling out people on their negative actions. All around, she is excellent, and she shares a damn near flawless chemistry with her co-star Ariana Grande as Glinda. And you know what? Not to harp on Emilia Perez again, with no offence to Zoe Saldana, but Ariana should have won the Oscar for this, no contest. I didn't grow up watching her TV shows, so I was caught off guard by how freaking hilarious she is. She perfectly encapsulates the ditzy blonde and the self-absorbed person who wants to soak up the attention and be top of the popularity food chain. But as the story goes on, she gains that moral conscience and becomes a tight companion to Elphaba, and in the final act, you can feel the dilemma that she's trapped in the middle of. And man, the strength of her vocal cords. One of the rare folks who can reach an unthinkable high pitch with ease. And as somebody who only listens to her music in passing, she impressed me. It's just a magnificent performance altogether. Toss toss. The remainder of the cast is quite the loaded one. I can't go through all of them, but in terms of the most notable faces, that handsome bastard Jonathan Bailey is one smooth dude as the Prince. Michelle Yeoh, a great choice as Madame Morrible. Mama and Jeff Goldblum, likewise spot on as the Wizard of Oz. Marissa Baudet as Nessa Rose shines. Ethan Slater does fine as Book. Bowen Yang and Roman James are warmed up to as Glinda's besties. Peter Dinklage brings heart to Dr. Dillamond. The list goes on. Point is, the acting top to bottom is strong. John M. Chu slays it as director, and aside from a couple of garbage past projects like G.I. Joe Retaliation and that utter ass heap Gem and Holograms, he's proven for a while that he has a knack for visual pizzazz. All of it coming through the award-winning production design, costumes and makeup. And the colours just pop, the bright silkiness which clashes well with the darker, bleaker parts, although you could argue it maybe gets a little too lens flary and washed out in moments, but it's not noticeable that often. The costuming and makeup is absolutely on point, and also everything just feels so big. There's just this unreal scale which is only made greater with the use of actual practical sets. Overall, it is a dazzling, massive spectacle. But let's get to the real juicy element of the product, the music. Before we get to the famous Stephen Schwartz pieces, firstly, a shout out to the orchestra who do a bang up job here. Unbelievable stuff from the unsung heroes behind those instruments who deserve credit for their talents. Now with that said, let's talk the songs. A great overture leads into the enjoyable, expositional No One Mourns the Wicked, even though if you're paying even the slightest attention to the actors involved, they give away a major plot point super early on, but I digress. The brief Dear Old Shiz is nice enough, but The Wizard of the Night is the first proper banger of the lineup. This is the point where Cynthia cemented herself for me. She is marvellous, and that final moment is a thing of beauty. Plus, it even comes included with Jeff Goldblum's terrifying stone face plastered on the wall. What is this feeling is very amusing. Something bad unfortunately feels too short and abrupt to fully emphasise its point. However, Dancing Through Life is simply wonderful. The main hook is beyond infectious, and Jonathan Bailey is at his utter smoothest here. And the sequence is so creative. Popular is another that is so goddamn catchy, and it gets a lot of laughs too from our leads, especially Ariana. I'm Not That Girl is okay. It's one of my least favourites personally. Honestly, that's my toilet break. But One Short Date is delightful, and The Sentimental Man surprised me of how heartfelt Goldblum proved to be. And finally, the la creme de la creme, Defying Gravity. Holy crap, this was executed outstandingly. Mind-blowing stuff from the early build-up to the explosive and passionate finale. You've all seen it, you know why. I have nothing to add and nothing to complain about. It's an awe-inspiring, adrenaline-unleashing climax that my mere words cannot do justice on. So, this may come as a shock, but I really liked Wicked Part 1. it definitely ranks up there as one of the best musical pictures of this century. Top 5 at least, surely. And you know what? We're not done here. I've made my case as to why this rocks, but let's hammer in the point even further. And to do so, I now call upon my guests that stretch across to the 4 corners of the land of Oz. Firstly, from the north, I call my friend Chloe Hendrie.
In short, I love Wicked. I think Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are incredible. The set design, the costuming, everything is truly phenomenal. In the current zeitgeist, movie musicals haven't really been trendy for a while now. I mean, projects like the Mean Girls musical film seem to be totally clowned on, and there's also been this trend in recent years of using pop songs in trailers instead of the actual songs from the musical. If you think back to the golden age of Hollywood too, musical movies were very much in scooping the awards, whereas now it tends to be dramas and biopics that really perform come awards season. I think another criticism of recent movie musical adaptations is that there's an element of them being seen as a quick and easy cash grab, but with Wicked, it's no secret how much everyone involved with that project adores it, and the care and attention to detail put into it really is evident. John M. Chu knows the weight this musical holds for the fans and how long people had been waiting for a Wicked movie. It's a funny one for me because I was a theatre kid growing up, and Wicked is like the quintessential stagey theatre kid show, but for some reason I just never saw or got into it beyond knowing a couple of the songs, which meant that the film was essentially my introduction, and I'm glad it was. 'Cause I'm a big believer that some books or films or songs are supposed to find you at certain stages in your life, and I saw it at a time when I was going through something, which meant that certain themes just really spoke to me. After the finale with Defying Gravity, I just remember the lights came back up in the cinema and I was frozen in my seat with tears streaming down my face. I genuinely could not speak for a few seconds after it ended. So in the meantime, I'm just dancing through life until For Good is released.
Secondly, from the south, another friend of mine, Gemma Trainor.
Despite me being a massive musical fan, Wicked was something I was not that familiar with, so I almost went into the film blind. Even though I knew a few songs, I didn't really know the gist of the plotline. And when I tell you I came out of that theatre a changed woman, it's not even the fact that it's like one of the greatest things I've ever seen, it's just you can tell that they cared so much about this production. They care so much about this musical. They really had the fans and the original material in mind. You could so totally tell. Everyone that worked on it was so passionate. I mean, obviously, Ariana Grande dreamed about doing this since she was a baby. And Cynthia Erivo is amazing. And just even things like them building the sets, not all of it was using the green screen. They literally built the school, they built Munchkinland, they planted so many tulips, and it felt so alive. Obviously, Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are dynamites in this. The way that they are just so good in this film, not just singing but acting wise. I have known about Ariana Grande for years, and this is something completely different for her, and she really showcased like, listen, I deserved this role, and she really did. Everyone was amazing in it. Plus, I love the fact, a trend I've noticed is like, all these films that are musicals, they don't advertise themselves as musicals, or they shy away in the trailers that is a musical. Whereas Wicked is like, listen, we're a musical and we're not afraid to show it. So yeah, it's just amazing, and I am counting down the minutes for when Wicked for Good comes out, because I just know that it's going to be heartbreaking, but so good.
Thirdly, from the east, the hosts of Scotland's premier fantasy podcast, Once Upon a VHS, Callum Sinclair and Michael Lee Richardson.
We are obviously huge Wicked fans. I've been a Wicked fan since the original book came out in 1995. Universal bought the rights to the book and wanted to make it as a film for a long time. There was a version supposed to come out with Demi Moore, and they wanted to make this quite serious adult fantasy film. That didn't happen, and in the early 2000s, Stephen Schwartz convinced them to make it as a musical for the stage. Wicked has got this long, rich heritage of like trying to come to the screen. Having waited for that film for all those years, I hadn't really ever considered that it would be good. And it's that moment of seeing the hat turned upside down, like shown in the reflection, like a twister. and then the flying monkeys burst out of the window and you hear that music for the first time. I remember like watching it in the cinema and just having this visceral feeling of like, oh my God, this is actually great.
I think it is pretty much as good as it possibly could have been. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande were my dream cast for these two roles long before they were announced, and I think they knock it out of the park. A lot of care and love clearly went into crafting this film. Like every aspect of the production design and the choreography and the music production, like all of these elements come together to really deliver on something that might have gone really, really wrong.
So many people, when that was announced that it was going to be in two parts, were so cynical about it. And I totally understand that. It needs to be two films. You need to end on Defying Gravity. You cannot have that in the middle of a film and go anywhere else after it. And I'm just so, so excited to see this second part.
Yes, we have been changed for good.
God, imagine if it was crap.
It won't be. It'll be good. It'll be great.
It won't be.
It'll be even better than the first.
And finally, from the West, literally 2 cents are over in America, haha, it is my honour and privilege to welcome to the stage the queens behind the world-renowned source of Ozian lore, the Down the Yellow Brick Pod, Tara and MK.
So, Wicked Part 1 is one of the best films that I've ever seen personally. Obviously, it is so special to us as fans and us historians to see Wicked, the musical, on film, to be able to see these incredible actors and actresses portray these iconic characters that we love so much, to get to see a close-up of these facial expressions, to get to see Defying Gravity actually happen, flying through the air. It is a feat. It is something that I think it still feels like a surreal fever dream sometimes, because
They got it right.
They got it right.
Middle
school me would have fallen over knowing that this was going to be a movie. A two-part movie.
30-year-old us.
Yes. Is
fell
unwell.
apart.
So
I would say I love this film even more because when it came out was my first year going back to school alongside MK. We both went back to school in 2024 fall.
Yeah.
So all the Shiz University of it all that was releasing beforehand just made me feel really, I don't know, excited to be back in my school era as someone who hasn't been in a school system for so long. So I think it has something extra special for me because of that.
Yeah.
It just is such a cozy escape in some frightening times that we are in at the moment.
Yeah.
It brings me a lot of joy.
It's an escape. Yeah.
I think this is a musical I've grown from being a teenager into now, like midlife, going into midlife.
We're growing with the story.
Yeah, and
the
it
characters.
it keeps resonating, and I will always learn something from all the characters in Wicked and never get tired of them. Such fascinating portrayals. The performances are just so good. And yeah, excited for part 2.
Can't wait to see it continue in part 2. Give us more. We're not done.
Thank you to all my esteemed guests for their contributions. It means a lot to me. And with that, if you've gotten this far, I appreciate you for sticking by and tolerating me. But for now, I must take my rest and put the show on a wee break. But hopefully, sooner than later, I'll be back. Until then, I'm Jason, and this is Small Movie World, watching, talking, and loving films.